All right, so we need to have a talk about democracy. And it can be a complicated thing to talk about because of the system that we live in that claims to be a democracy. But a democracy doesn't have hierarchies, at least not hierarchies of people. Hierarchies of problems and solutions, that makes sense. But a democracy does not have hierarchies. And if you look everywhere in our society, there's hierarchies everywhere. But there's definitely one thing that is clear is that we are on the path back to democracy. And I say back to democracy because democracy is just the natural state of humans living together. It's not some kind of ideology. It's just a description of shared governance. But in the United States, we don't have shared governance. Are you a part of policy making? Are you a part of choosing candidates to elect? No, none of us are. All of that comes down from the top, from the hierarchies. Just because a country claims to be a democratic system doesn't make it true. Actions make it true. So back to the path to democracy. Now, where we are on this path is the same place human beings have been many, 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 many times before. Because the path to democracy is like a hiking trail. And at the end of this hiking trail, we have to cross over a river. And to cross over this river, we have to walk across a slippery, wet log. In order to get to democracy. And underneath this tree is a river. And you can think of this river as ideologies. Things like communism or socialism or fascism or blah blah, and any of the isms, any of the religions, any of these things. And if we slip off this log, we fall into the river. And we don't stay in this river forever. Eventually, we get out of the river and start the trail over again. Now this is the trail humanity is always taking everywhere in the world because it's our natural state to have shared governance. Now, this used to be just the way human societies operated because they were a lot smaller and there was no distance between decision and consequence. Now, nobody knows when democracy ended, but it definitely ended when decision and consequence started to separate and the distance between them grew. Which brought us to where we are again. This has happened many times in recorded history. We're back at the same spot. We're crossing the log. We're trying to get to democracy. Never have we got there in the history of our country. It's always been we've always been heading towards it, but we've never fully reached democracy. And even if we do reach democracy, It takes all of humanity to balance it. All of humanity, all of a society. Now, this was easier before because we were smaller societies. Now we are a global society. So it will take all of us to get to a democracy. So let's first go to how we're taught to think about democracy. And there's actually something physical we can point at, which is the Yukon River. Now, if you look at the Yukon River, it is free. Just the way we think of freedom in the United States. It goes wherever it goes. These molecules can choose this tributary, that tributary, this different path, that different. There's so many different ways water can go in the Yukon because there is no control over the Yukon. But in the system that we live in, if we think about the river and the water in the river as human potential, then the system that we live in, if we're honest with ourselves, looks a whole lot more like the Colorado River than it looks like the Yukon River. And the Colorado River is 100% controlled. All these dams are stores of wealth, and they are controlled by a few people. And on the Colorado River and its tributaries, there's at least 1,000 dams, 1,000 structures that control the flow of the Colorado River. And as you may know, the Colorado River doesn't even reach the ocean most of the time anymore. And if you look at the Colorado River and you look at maps on where it used to flow before it was dammed up and how rich the environment was around it, how many people lived off of that river? Entire cultures flourished around it. And when you look at the history and you compare it to now, I mean, it's almost a tragedy what has happened. Now it's like, what you see right now with the Colorado River is a lot of these reservoirs drying up. And I mean, that's exactly what's happening today. Except we refuse to believe that any of these reservoirs are losing water because, well, we don't live right next to them. We don't see it. We don't hear it in the news. It's not something we live with on a daily basis. What we've done to the Colorado River is a consequence of decisions we made in the past. Decisions whose consequences are so far away from the people who made the decisions. So that's how I see the world, is that we're taught that no matter what country you're from, no matter what ideology, no matter what, they all teach you as a kid that life is like the Yukon River. You can go anywhere, you can do anything, all this bullshit. But the truth is that life is just like the Colorado River. And we all need to acknowledge this. It's really important that we all acknowledge this. I mean, that's just the first step, is admitting we have a problem. And so we all globally have a lot of work to do in the places that we live. A lot of work to do. There is so much work to be done for humanity to actually reach democracy that we need all hands on deck. Everyone, every opinion, every perspective on the world. We need all of it. We need diversity. We don't need one way. We need all the ways. To get there, we need to let go of this hero worship kind of thing. We all have a job to do. All of us around the world all have a job to do. Because it's not only eliminating the distance between between decisions, it's not only eliminating the distance between decisions and consequences. There's so many other things to fix. The tax system, money in politics, the environment being extracted from constantly and at an ever increasing rate. And the list goes on. So we do need everyone to come together on just common ground, a shared reality that we all live in, but we just ignore. We need to get to know each other again. The ones right next to us. You see, what they teach us is to find like-minded people, to get in groups of like-minded people. And the problem with that is that creates a narrow perspective on the world. These people end up creating hierarchies. And, well, these hierarchies can now be targeted and captured. A hierarchy is not the way. That's why we got rid of kings, to get rid of the hierarchies. But they stuck around. We still use them, just like kings did. I mean, these people talking about no kings, as if you don't want Donald Trump to become a king. It's because you think there's only one king? There are many kings. Many, many kings. And none of us are ever gonna change the system from the top of a hierarchy. Everything has to come from the bottom. That's how a real democracy works. From the bottom. How do we do that? how do we get there? How do we cross this river without sliding into the same bullshit we've slid into many times throughout history? And, had to start this thing all over again. We have to do it together. It's not separated. If we stay fractured, we stay powerless. But together, we're stronger than any national idea. We're stronger than any corporation. We are huge. We are the sleeping giant. But the giant isn't sleeping. We're also told that the giant is sleeping. The giant is not sleeping. It does have one eye open. You all see parts of this system. We all are a puzzle piece to democracy. It is essential for all of us to be part of the democratic process. And to do this, we need to go back to what works. And what works is small groups of people that know each other. Because outside of 50 to 60 people, the dynamics change. You can't really get to know more people than that. They become more acquaintances after that. We only have so much capacity to get to know people. And in smaller groups like that, we all get to know each other. We all have different perspectives because we're human. And that's great. That gives us all a different approach on how to solve the problem. And that diversity in approach is gold. It is not a defect. Just look at nature. Look at monoculture. Look what happens when we only grow one plant on a piece of land. Just to be able to do that, we pretty much have to dump tons of pesticides and all the shit on the land just to be able to do that bullshit. But look at the richest ecosystems on the planet. And what you will always find is diversity. Diversity. That is the answer. That is our strength, not our weakness. We don't all need to agree on everything, and we never will. That's a good thing. So long story short, we don't live in democracy. We're still building it. It's a bridge. It's a bridge unfinished. We need to all work together to make it happen, to finish the bridge. A real democracy does not have pyramid structures of organization. A real democracy is a web. Or you could even think of it as the cells of a plant. All these cells are similar and work together as part of a organism. Now, we've all been taught to fear democracy in reality. They call it like populism and shit like that. All that's bullshit. All that is people who claim to be populist or who are labeled populist, which, because they support public opinion, which is bullshit. They only support their opinion. That's all anybody could ever do anyway. But why that fails is because you're trying to replace one centralized system of control, which is where we live, with another centralized system of control. You could see that everywhere. In any country, any ideology, for all of history, the only thing that has ever happened is one centralized unit replaced with another centralized unit. That's not democracy. Democracy does not have centralized control. Why? Because there's too much distance between decisions and consequences. That's why it needs to be decentralized. Because when decisions and consequences live in harmony, that's a democracy. Anything else is bullshit. Socialism, communism, blah, blah, fascism, whatever. That's not a democracy. That's like, you're just replacing one centralized system for another and calling it something else. It's the same thing. So we all need to start building these groups. Not with people that live on the other side of town, people that live right next to us, people that don't think like we do. Instead of running away from people that think differently than you do because you can't change their mind, how about we just let go of all that shit and embrace the fact that it's a good thing that we all think differently. It's great that we all think differently. The only reason we can't communicate is because we're all focused on a fucking national narrative none of us have control over. This has been since the beginning. Just imagine this, all the white people moving out into Indian territory. Now, Indians, their culture, everything was based on reality for them. Shared reality. Reality they could see and touch. But our reality came from a newspaper. All the things we talked about came from the newspaper. Now imagine how this looked to Indian people. And look at the system we live in now. It's the same. It's the same as it was before. Sure, we have like the internet, social media, blah, all this new stuff, but it's just the newspaper in a different form. That's where we get our reality from. And that's a reality we can't touch. We could try to influence that reality, but we're not changing it. We only change it when we all start coming together in small groups and voting together. Finding our shared reality. Separating our common shared reality with our perspectives on a reality that we can't touch. Until we organize and we can touch it together. We're only going to do it together. You know, it's good that we've all got more eyes on the federal government now than we've ever had before, you know, which acts as oversight, but it's fucking exhausting, so a lot of people can't do it anymore. So a lot of people are taking their eyes off it. And it's important for people to be in groups so that, you know, the people that are interested in paying attention to it can pay attention to it and share with the people that don't have the energy to pay attention to it. But it should not be our main focus, this national fucking narrative. What needs to be on our focus is our local narrative, number one. Because the only way that we are ever gonna touch the national, or the only way we're ever gonna touch the federal government is if most states in United States take their government back. Well, I mean, back is a little confusing because we never had it. Because democracy was never finished. I can't speak for every state, but in Nevada, our lowest level of representation is 75,000 people for one representative. That is an impossible task for any one person. To filter 75,000 wants and needs into one person is impossible. That is a top-down logic. We don't make policy, we wait for them. Like we're waiting in a DMV line. We don't select our representatives, we wait for them. And we need to change that if we actually want democracy. We need to be electing people as messengers to representatives. People who will do what we tell them to do for fear of getting kicked out immediately if they don't. These people, these representatives we have now should have no individual power to do anything. They work for us, not the other way around. Or I mean, they should work for us. But they don't work for us. They work for the people that bribe them. We all know this shit happens. This is really common knowledge. I mean, bribes are the way of doing business. We all know the whole government is corrupt. We know it. We know the Democrats and Republicans are corrupt. We know this. Still, there's people that still want to be Republicans, even though they know their party is corrupt. There's Democrats that want to stay Democrats, even though deep down they know it's corrupt. Both parties are run by unelected people. People we don't elect. That's who runs those organizations. The only way to democracy is without political affiliations. You don't have to have some kind of ideology to represent us. You just need to do what we tell you to do. And if you don't, we will kick you out and put the next guy in on our ranked choice voting list. Instead of just having one backup, let's have 50. And these representatives, if we elect them into place, they don't do what we say immediately and without remorse, without question. If they try to question us, we kick them out. If they don't do what we say, we kick them out immediately. We don't give them chance to explain themselves. You acted out of order, you're out. And if they don't step down when we tell them to, we all stop. Because we all have, let's say, a month's worth. We organize as a community and we've got a month's worth of food. That might not sound like a big deal, but let's just look at, one district in Nevada, 75,000 people. If each one of these people spends $100 a week, which is pretty average for food, that one district is spending $30 million a month. That's fucking power right there. You people that think we have no power, that's incredible power right there. 30 million a month. Imagine if these people all came together that collectively spend 30 million a month on groceries. That they could buy up 3 fucking grocery stores in a month. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got today. Sorry it took me long to do another video, but I've just been kind of trying to figure out where we all need to go next. And I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. But together, all of us, we have any answer, all answers, all possibilities. We have all of it. That's why together we are so big. We dwarf corporations together. We dwarf institutions. They are tiny compared to us. If we come together, we are the biggest thing there is. The biggest force on the planet is the public. It's not institutions. Because we organize it is. But if we organize, that would flip. They would stop doing what they want. They would stop being corrupt if we organized. And let me be real clear. We are in an extremely corrupt system, all that shit right now, and we got a lot of work to do, and we need transparency. Not transparency like a promise. We need real transparency. So, what we all need to do in the United States, worldwide, is we need to create a contract that we all sign. And so if any one of us is elected, we have to stand by the contract. And this contract is a surrender of privacy for the duration of your term, which will definitely discourage people to run for office for an extended period of time. But instead of just praying for transparency, let's just make it. Put these guys on live stream 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The only privacy they have is their bedroom and the bathroom. Apart from that, we see it all. From start to finish, 4 years straight. Some people might say, "Well, that's an invasion of privacy." Well, I mean, we're all have an invasion of privacy now. If you can't afford it, you have no privacy. Privacy is an expense now. Privacy is an extra cost. And if you can't afford that extra cost, well, you have no privacy. Your information can be bought and sold without your knowledge or approval. All right, for real, I'm done. Yeah, see you guys later. Peace.